nobody in that chandelier-lit room expected the Ghost of Seoul to go still. Jae-Sung Park didn't flinch at gunfire. He didn't blink at a blade. Men who had faced him across negotiating tables described it the same way every time, like looking into something that had already decided. But tonight, at table 7 of the Sterling Room, with a $50 million contract sitting open in front of him, and 12 of the most dangerous men in the city watching his hand, he stopped. Because a little girl in a stained pink tutu had just wrapped her fingers around his sleeve. She couldn't have been more than 4. Brown skin, wide eyes, a worn teddy bear tucked under one arm. She looked up at him the way children look at someone they've already decided belongs to them. And she whispered, "Dada?" The silverware stopped clinking. Someone's wine glass hovered midair. His lead lieutenant's hand moved toward his holster and froze when Jae-Sung raised one finger. "Don't." Jae-Sung's eyes moved past the child, past the tables, past the polished mahogany and the soft gold lighting, to the woman standing frozen at the kitchen door. Hair pulled back, uniform slightly too big, cheeks hollow in a way that comes from years of skipping meals, not days. Her eyes met his, and in them he saw something he hadn't seen directed at him in a long, long time. Pure terror. He had buried her in his mind 4 years ago, named her a traitor in the quiet hours, told himself she was gone because she chose to be. She wasn't gone. She was his waitress. The little girl didn't let go. Most grown men in that room had released things far more precious than a sleeve the moment Jae-Sung Park looked at them. But this child, this 4-year-old with a teddy bear and a tutu, just tilted her head like she was waiting for him to catch up. His lieutenant stepped forward. Jae-Sung's hand came up. One movement. The man stopped like he'd hit a wall. Slowly, Jae-Sung looked down. And that's when he saw it. Around the little girl's neck, on the thin gold chain, was a jade pendant, carved into the shape of a crane mid-flight. Small, old, worn smooth at the edges from decades of careful hands. His grandmother's hands, his mother's hands. The Park family heirloom. The piece he had torn his penthouse apart searching for the night Serafina disappeared. The piece he eventually stopped looking for, because finding it would have meant accepting that she took it when she left. His jaw tightened. 12 men were still watching. 3 investors, 2 bodyguards by the door. Every single one of them waiting to see what the Ghost of Seoul would do next. He reached down, and he picked her up. Not awkwardly, not stiffly. He picked her up the way a man picks up something that belongs to him. Certain, quiet, final. The little girl looked at him with those wide eyes and patted his face once with an open palm, like she was checking he was real. "Mr. Park." His lead investor cleared his throat. "The contract." "Leave." "I'm sorry?" "The room." His voice didn't rise. It never did. "Clear it." The contract sat unsigned on the table. The investor left. Then the others, one by one, until it was just Jae-Sung standing in the middle of the Sterling Room, holding a 4-year-old who was already falling asleep against his shoulder. He looked toward the kitchen door. Serafina was gone. And somewhere in the back of that restaurant, a phone was ringing, and a man named Min-ho was picking up. And just like that, everything Jae-Sung thought he knew about the last 4 years just cracked open. If you felt that, drop a comment below right now. Tell me, do you think Serafina ran to protect him or protect herself? I read every single one. Let's keep going. He found her in the walk-in pantry, back against the metal shelving, one hand pressed over her mouth like she was physically holding herself together. She saw him and went completely still. "Serafina." "Don't." Her voice came out in a whisper. "Don't say my name in here." He stepped inside. The door swung shut behind him. Nia, that was the name on the little girl's bracelet, he'd read it in the elevator, was with his driver, the only man in that building Jae-Sung trusted without conditions. "How long?" he said. She looked at the floor. "How long have you been working here?" "Jae-Sung." "Answer me." 14 months. She finally looked up. Her eyes were dry. That was the thing that hit him hardest. She wasn't crying. She had moved past the part of this where she cried. I needed somewhere busy enough that your collectors wouldn't look twice. Somewhere the tips were good enough to... She stopped herself. To what? She shook her head. You need to go. Table 12, the man in the gray suit. He works for Min-ho. He's been here every Thursday for 6 weeks. If he sees you talking to me... You've been tracking him. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Jae-Sung looked at her. Really looked. For the first time in 4 years. The hollow cheeks, the careful posture of someone who had learned to take up as little space as possible. The way her eyes moved to the door every few seconds, like she was always calculating exits. She hadn't just been hiding from him. She had been running a one-woman surveillance operation out of a restaurant pantry. Serafina. His voice dropped. Who told you to run? Her breath caught. The fluorescent light above them buzzed once, and the pantry door opened. The man who stepped in wasn't Min-ho. It was worse. It was Dong-hyun, Min-ho's fixer. The man who handled the things Min-ho didn't want attached to his name. He looked at Jae-Sung, then at Serafina, and smiled the kind of smile that meant he was already composing the message he was about to send. Mr. Park, didn't realize the entertainment here was so... personal. Jae-Sung said nothing. Min-ho will be very interested to hear. Dong-hyun. The man paused. Do you have a family? Something shifted in his expression. Yes. Go home to them tonight. Jae-Sung's voice was the same temperature it always was. Flat, even, absolute. Don't send that message. Don't make a call. Go home, and tomorrow morning, resign from Min-ho's office and move your family out of the city. And if I don't? Then tomorrow morning won't come. 4 seconds of silence. Then Dong-hyun left. Serafina let out a slow, shaking breath, the first real breath she'd taken since he walked in. The real confrontation came an hour later. Jae-Sung walked back into the private dining room where his senior lieutenants were still gathered. Min-ho sat at the head of the table, swirling his glass, wearing the loose expression of a man who had already heard the evening's gossip and was enjoying it. A child, Min-ho said pleasantly. Half-blood, showing up at your table. He shook his head slowly. The optics alone. Jae-Sung pulled out Min-ho's chair, with Min-ho still in it, and turned it to face him directly. The room went cold. Say the next word, Jae-Sung said quietly, and you will spend the rest of your life wondering whether I'm finished with you. Min-ho went white. Your seat at this table is gone. Clean out your office by morning. Nobody in that room moved, because they had all just watched the second most powerful man in the syndicate get dismantled in 30 seconds, and every single one of them was now asking themselves the same silent question. What does Jae-Sung Park know that Min-ho didn't even try to fight back? Something is being buried in this story, something that goes deeper than Min-ho, deeper than the restaurant, deeper than 4 years. Can you feel it building? Subscribe right now so you don't miss what's coming, and drop a comment telling me what you think Serafina is hiding. Your comment might shape this story. I mean that. His investigator had given him the address in under 2 hours. That was the easy part. The hard part was standing outside a building with a broken buzzer and paint peeling off the doorframe, understanding that this was where she had been. Not hiding in comfort, not protected. Here, Unit 4B, 2nd floor. The lock on the stairwell door didn't work. He noted that. The hallway light was out on one side. He noted that too. By the time he reached her door, the investigator had stopped trying to follow him. Some things a man had to walk into alone. The door was unlocked. He stepped inside. 300 square feet, maybe less. A mattress on the floor with a smaller one pushed against it. Nia's, made up carefully with a faded yellow blanket. A hot plate on the counter. 3 cans of soup in the cupboard above it. A window with no curtains because curtains cost money. On the wall beside the mattress, drawings, dozens of them. Crayon on copy paper, taped up in careful rows. Suns, dogs, stick figures of two people, a tall one and a small one holding hands. And in the corner of nearly every drawing, a third figure, a man in a dark suit. No face, just a dark suit and what looked like a pendant around his neck. Jae-Sung stood in front of those drawings for a long time. Then he saw the bag by the door. He crouched and opened it. Bus ticket, 2 seats, dated 6 days from now, a city 4 states away. A folded piece of paper with 2 names on it, a shelter, and below it, a law firm that handled pro bono family cases. She wasn't waiting to be found. She was already planning the next disappearance. He sat down on the floor, not in a chair, on the floor, back against the wall, in the dark, in a 300-square-foot apartment that smelled like baby soap and instant noodles. And Jae-Sung Park, the ghost of Seoul, the man who had never once in his adult life not known what to do next, sat there and did not move for a very long time. She came home at 11:47 p.m. She saw his silhouette before she turned the light on, and she didn't scream. She just stood in the doorway and breathed. Like she had half expected this. Like some part of her had been bracing for it for 4 years. Then she turned on the light, checked that Nia was still asleep, and sat down across from him at the small kitchen table that barely fit 2 cups between them. She folded her hands, and she began. The night I left, someone slid an envelope under my door. No name, just photographs. She kept her voice low and level, the way someone speaks when they've rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times and still aren't sure they'll get through it. You, your car, your building, and a note that said if I stayed, they'd use me to get to you. That they already had someone inside your team who was watching you through me. Jae-Sung didn't speak. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know if telling you would make it worse. So I left. She stopped, pressed her lips together. I thought disappearing was the only way to make you a smaller target. You were pregnant. The words landed like a stone in still water. I found out 2 weeks after I left. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a car passed slowly on the street below. I wanted to come back every single day, she said, and for the first time her voice cracked, just once, just at the edge of it, before she pulled it back. Every day for 4 years, Jae-Sung, but every time I got close, I'd see one of Minho's people and She exhaled. I kept paying the collectors, every week, because it was the only way I could still protect you from a distance. It was the only thread I had left. Jae-Sung looked at her for a long moment. 4 years. She had been paying men who reported to his organization every week from a restaurant job to keep herself invisible. Not to survive, to protect him. The person inside my team, he said quietly. The one in the photograph. Did you see a face? Serafina reached into her uniform pocket. She placed a folded photograph on the table between them. He unfolded it, and the blood left his face. Because the man in that photograph, standing outside his building, watching his car, 4 years ago, was not Minho. It was his most trusted lieutenant, the man who had been by his side for 11 years. The man who, 1 hour ago, Jae-Sung had handed Nia to while he went to find Serafina. The man who was alone with his daughter right now. Jae-Sung was moving before the photograph hit the table. He called his driver first. No answer. He called the building's front desk. The line rang out. He was already in the stairwell when his secondary guard picked up and told him the car was still outside. Engine off. No movement. No sign of the lieutenant or the child. He hit the street at a run, something no one who worked for him had ever seen. The car was there. Engine off. Empty. No lieutenant, no Nia. On the back seat, a single yellow crayon. The same shade as the blanket on Nia's mattress. Jae-Sung stood on that pavement and understood, with the cold precision that had kept him alive for 15 years, exactly what had just happened. He hadn't been ambushed by Minho. He had been maneuvered, slowly, deliberately, over 11 years. He pulled the payment records that night, 3 in the morning, his financial officer's hands shaking as he laid out 4 years of street collections. Every week, every payment. Serafina's tips, converted to cash, flowing to the collectors assigned to her building. But that wasn't what stopped him cold. What stopped him was where those collector reports had been routed. Not to Minho's office, to the lieutenant's. He had known where she was for 4 years. He had let her pay, let her scramble, let her believe she was buying safety, while his men reported her location back to him every single week. Jae-Sung set down the report. He didn't rage. He didn't raise his voice. He picked up his phone and made one call. And somewhere across the city, 11 years of loyalty became a death sentence. They found her at 4 a.m. She was in a parking structure 3 blocks from the Sterling room, sitting on a concrete ledge eating crackers from a vending machine packet, teddy bear in her lap, completely unbothered. The lieutenant had made one critical miscalculation. He had underestimated how fast Jae-Sung would move. He ran before he could complete whatever the next step was supposed to be. Nia saw Jae-Sung come around the corner. She held up her teddy bear. "I told Mr. Bear you were coming," she said. Jae-Sung crouched down in front of her. For a moment he didn't speak. He just looked at her, this 4-year-old who had patted his face in a restaurant 2 hours ago and decided he was hers. Then he picked her up. And it was different from the restaurant. Tighter, less certain, more human. By morning they were in a secured penthouse, full sweep completed, entry points covered, a rotation of guards Jae-Sung had personally vetted. Serafina stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the city below, saying nothing for a long time. "She's okay," Jae-Sung said. "I know." Her voice was quiet. "I need her to stay that way." She turned from the window and looked at him, really looked, and for the first time since the pantry, something in her face came undone. Not tears, just the exhaustion of 4 years of carrying something alone, finally finding somewhere to set it down. "I didn't know how to trust you with this," she said. "I didn't know if trusting you was the thing that would get you killed." "You kept us both alive," he said. She looked at him for a long moment. "So did you." Nia, for her part, found the tactical maps on the coffee table, picked up a red crayon, and added a large sun to the corner of the city grid. Jae-Sung moved the crayon, not the maps. The message came that night, 4 words from an unknown number. "Council meeting, tomorrow, come alone." He didn't go alone. He walked into the Syndicate High Council chamber at 9 a.m. with no weapons, no lieutenants, and no contract. He brought a file. 11 years of evidence. Financial records showing the lieutenant's parallel network, built quietly, funded through shell accounts that predated Minho's operation by 3 years. Communication trails leading back to the original coup attempt. Minho had been a willing partner, but he had been recruited, funded, positioned by the lieutenant. The council chamber went absolutely silent as Jae-Sung laid it out page by page. Then the doors opened behind him. Serafina walked in. She was not in her waitress uniform. She wore a dark blazer, hair down, and she carried a second file, thicker than his. 4 years of payment records, collector confirmations, surveillance logs she had kept herself in a notebook the size of her palm. Dates, names, amounts. A paper trail that corroborated every single document Jae-Sung had placed on that table. A former law student who had spent 4 years building a case from a 300-square-foot apartment. The council chairman looked between them slowly. "Mr. Park," he said, "you were supposed to come alone." Jae-Sung glanced at Serafina. "She's not backup," he said. He looked at her. "She's co-counsel." The lieutenant was brought in within the hour. Minho followed. Neither of them spoke when they saw the files. There was nothing left to say. It was over by mid-morning. 15 years of empire, unwound in a room where the only weapons were paper and 4 years of a woman's quiet, relentless survival. 2 years later. The cafe was small and sunlit, on a quiet street in a city that had never heard of the Ghost of Seoul. 6 tables. A hand-painted sign above the door. A chalkboard menu that changed every Tuesday. The kind of place where the same people came in at the same time every morning, and the man behind the counter already knew their order. He went by Joseph. He was unremarkable in the way that only very deliberate people manage to be. A little too calm, a little too aware of everyone who walked through the door. Eyes that still moved to windows out of old habit. But the little girl who came barreling through the back at 3:15 every afternoon made him look like anybody's father. "Homework," she announced, dropping her backpack on the counter. "Table," he said, already reaching for her juice. "Table," she agreed, like this was a negotiation she had decided to let him win. Nia was 6 now. She had her mother's precision and her father's stillness, a combination her teacher had described in a parent conference as quietly formidable, which had made Serafina press her lips together to keep from smiling. Serafina brought 2 coffees to table 3, where Joseph had Nia's math worksheet spread between them, explaining fractions with sugar packets. She set the cups down. She sat. Outside the window, the afternoon moved past, unhurried, ordinary, unbothered by any of the things that had once lived in the people sitting inside it. Nia looked up from her worksheet. "Mama, is 7/8 bigger than 3/4?" Serafina looked at Jae-Sung. He was already looking at her, the way he had looked at her across that small kitchen table at 11:47 p.m., like she was the only fixed point in a room that kept shifting. "Yes, baby," Serafina said softly. 7/8 is bigger." Nia wrote it down with great ceremony and went back to work. Jae-Sung picked up his coffee. Under the table, his hand found Serafina's. She didn't pull away. The jade pendant caught the light from the window, back around Nia's neck, where it had always belonged. The Ghost of Seoul was gone. Joseph was home. And that, right there, is where I'm leaving you. If this story reached into your chest even a little, you already know what to do. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and go back to chapter 1 if you haven't watched from the beginning. Because everything you just felt in this final chapter hits completely differently when you've been there since that little girl grabbed his sleeve in the Sterling room. Every comment you leave shapes what comes next on this channel. I read every single one. This is Christy J's story, and I'll see you in the next one.